During college, I was a babysitter on one of those find a babysitter apps. I got to work whenever I wanted, and I made pretty good money. Usually, I would just be babysitting for a few hours at a time or maybe overnight, and I had several regular clients who rebooked me multiple times. I enjoyed it too. I don't necessarily want kids of my own, but I'm kind of the cool aunt who lets the rules slide just enough for the kids to give glowing reviews of me when the parents got home. If they were old enough to talk, that is. I did it for a long time without getting stuck with any nightmare children. But my luck did run out eventually. This one kid, Carter, almost made me quit babysitting altogether. I was already apprehensive to babysit him, as he was on the older side at 10 years old, which is about the age when kids get more complicated. However, it was for a whole week, Monday through Friday, so the money was just too good to pass up. All my classes were online, so I could study the whole time and have the whole weekend to myself. When I met the parents, I felt better about things. They were both very nice people, and Carter seemed like a normal, lazy kid. They said he mostly spent his time playing video games and had a pretty set diet of easy-to-make stuff. They told me not to bother trying to get him to clean his room, and just to keep the rest of the house tidy. At that point, I thought the week was going to be a cinch. But then the parents left, and Carter switched up right away. He started running laps around the house, making loud engine sounds as he passed by me. At first, I thought I should let him expel some energy since I wasn't told to enforce any rules about running. However, Carter bumped into a table seemingly on purpose and came very close to breaking a glass vase, so I had to lay down the law. Carter didn't take well to being told not to run. He got angry and argued with me about it for a bit before I sent him to his room to play video games. He left, but before he slammed the door, he looked straight at me from down the hall and said, "I don't like you," in the typical mocking tone of an angry little boy. That was definitely the worst possible foot we could have started off on, so to speak. But I didn't worry about it being much worse than that. Of course, it wasn't that simple. It seemed like Carter was intentionally testing every single boundary of what he could get away with. When I picked them up and knocked on his door to tell him to put them away, I discovered the absolute den of clutter and chaos that was his room. Thank God his parents didn't make me do anything about it. On top of that, he had his game console in there, which he played at the max volume until I told him to turn it down. He was definitely disobeying his bedtime every single night, but I couldn't do much about that. I just had to ignore the sounds of explosions and screaming while I was trying to study. Carter wasn't just a poorly behaved spoiled brat either. He was also a little creep. For a 10-year-old, he sure knew a lot of dirty words and things about how intimate physical actions were carried out. On Thursday, I noticed he smelled awful. I knew I would have to get him to take a shower, but it was a horrible struggle forcing him to do it. After an hour of fighting over it, he finally went into the bathroom and turned on the shower. Then, for the first time all week, I had a chance to go into his room without him being there. I couldn't help my curiosity. I had to know what other nasty secrets this kid had. After a bit of digging, I found an odd little handmade booklet. It was titled, "All the Ways I Want to Kill Susan." The first page said, "I hate Susan so much. If I knew she wouldn't tattle to my parents, I'd punch her." Then, there was a bad drawing of a giant fist smashing my face. Things just got worse as I kept turning the pages. There were lots of spelling errors, but the message was clear. Susan makes me put away my guns. I want to shoot her. Followed by a machine gun turning me into Swiss cheese. Susan doesn't let me run in the house. I want to cut off her feet. With a drawing of 2 bloody stumps and severed feet. If Susan wasn't so ugly, I would F her to death. With the full curse word, followed by a graphic depiction of something I don't want to talk about. Watching her sleep in my parents' bed made me want to set the house on fire. The picture had me burning alive in bed and screaming for help as Carter watched. I was mortified. I quickly took pictures of everything and sent them to his parents. But before I could get any reply, I heard a voice behind me. It was Carter. He was fully clothed, holding a pocket knife. He said he was going to kill me. Then he charged at me. I quickly got out of the way and ran out of the room, slamming his door shut. I held it closed for dear life as Carter started stabbing the door. I was able to hold the door closed with one hand and called his parents to tell them what was happening. They didn't believe me until they went and looked at the photos I sent them. But they still asked me to stay the last night and wait for them to get there. There was no chance of that happening. They had a family friend come over to watch Carter for the night. I took my payment and packed up all my stuff, never to go near that neighborhood again, even after taking a few weeks off. That freak monster of a kid scarred me. I dread to think what he'll become when he gets older. There's something extremely wrong with him.